up your engine. People are often looking for a good, cheap, used truck. Now this Ford was cheap, it was $3,500, but is it good? Well, I'm going to show you. This is a 2001 F-250 that the customer just bought for $3,500 bucks. Got all the parts. It's even got one of these fancy lift gates on the back. Let's check it out. Whoa, look at the cavern front seat. Well, it shows it was well used. You can always reupholster these or put padding in if you want. You know, this is a classic pickup truck with a split bench seat. It was made in the USA. This particular one's got 159,598 miles on it, and as you can see, it starts right up. And the AC still blows nice and cold. And as old as it is, it's still got some cruise control stuff and buttons on the steering column. Dependable automatic transmission with overdrive. And as you can see under here, it's two-wheel drive. The front wheels are just for spinning. It's not four-wheel drive. If you don't need four-wheel drive, take Scotty's advice. Don't buy all-wheel drive. Much more dependable with just rear-wheel drive, especially these Fords as they age. The front-wheel drive get clunky as you turn and things wear. It's a good solid front end when it's only rear-wheel drive. Much simpler to maintain and a little bit better gas mileage. Now, as we check under the hood, you can see it's got a venerable V8. Now this particular one is a 5.4 liter. Just look at the intake. Puts out 250 horsepower, and aside from some of them having problems with the spark plugs popping out of the holes, which Ford fixed, they got better spark plugs for them now. It's not something you have to worry about anymore. They're extremely reliable engines. This one still sounds good. Nice and solid, no clacking. The only thing you really hear is the fan clutch sucking air. Now this V8 engine is tied in with a 4-speed automatic with overdrive, which is a very dependable unit. Now of course it's always the transmission that wears out first on these things, but my customers who kept them forever, 400,000 or 500,000 miles or more, a lot of times they would just go and put a Ford factory remanufactured automatic transmission in when they broke. A lot of times they'll go 250,000 miles, and when they break, you just put a factory remand in and you can get a lot more miles out of them. They are fixable and they can last a long time. And the way it's set up, this can tow up to 12,500 pounds. You need something to tow with. What you want is a V8 engine. Big heavy body, something that's not going to flex. These things are made for towing. A lot of guys put goosenecks in the back to tow big stuff. This one's just set up with the single rear wheels. You can get dually rear wheels, but really, this is a bargain truck. You pay 3,500 bucks. You're better off with the singles. You put dualies, you start pulling too much with an old vehicle, things are going to wear out faster. Let's face reality. Most people don't want to. Old Scotty doesn't want to sometimes, but when it comes to vehicles, face reality. Brand new one of these start at like $34,000 up. This guy paid $3,500 for this. Don't expect you're going to buy something like this and then start using it as a work truck, carrying 12,500 pounds, filling the bed with rocks and stuff. You can do stuff, but it's not something that you're going to put 20,000 miles a year on and do heavy duty work. It's a nice, cheap work truck. Now this does have the check engine light on, so we're going to scan it, and we're also going to see what kind of shape everything's in by analyzing the data. So we'll plug in the data port right here. Simple to do, and read the data. You can't hide from a machine. And I noticed while it's sitting there idling, it's got a little bit of a misfire, a little shaking at idle, so there's going to be something wrong. But might not be anything big. Now the main thing is it has powertrain control codes. So we're going to check those codes. Read codes. Check all system isn't complete. That we don't care about. P1117, the engine coolant temperature circuit is a fault. So it probably needs a new engine coolant temperature sensor, maybe some wiring. And the cylinder head temperature sensor has a high input. So that's probably bad too. We'll do some more tests. Ford has automated tests. They always have. So now it's doing some tests to see if there's anything else going on. Well, there's nothing outrageous, and as we check the electrical system codes, we can see there's a bunch of higgly-piggly ones. Parking lot switch failure, driver safety belt switch, brake circuit failure, opener shorted to ground, accessory delay relay circuit failure, bunch of minor electrical stuff. You fix what you need to fix. Let's say the brake lights don't work. Then you fix the brake lights off and the switch goes bad or the wiring. Pretty simple fixes, not stuff you got to spend a lot of time on. Truck like this, you want it to have brake lights, headlights, turn signals. As long as it passes a safety inspection, who cares about the rest? It's an old truck you paid $3,500 for. More important is the live data, which I'm Gonna check now to see what kind of shape the vehicle is in. See, there's all kinds of data. The interesting thing is there's no misfire currently detected. It's a little bit off, but it's not bad enough to trip the codes. These old trucks, they're never gonna run perfect, but they can run good enough. Seeing all these no faults, showing that those systems are working. Now, as you can see, the fuel trim, presently this bank, number 1 is minus 5.46, and number 2, it's adding a little bit of fuel, but then every once in a while it starts to subtract. Even the other one, you can see now it's adding, now it's subtracting, now it's subtracting. But, you know, it's a maximum of 5-something%. You're going to see that in any old vehicle. Computers are compensating for wear. Maybe the fuel injectors aren't spraying enough gas, or sometimes too much. It's always going to be going back and forth because it's an old vehicle and it's trying to make it run as good as it can. Important part, this is all the transmission data. I'm looking for bad stuff there. Certainly not a perfect vehicle, but good enough. Let's take it for a road test. Now, it doesn't idle all that bad, a little bit of a shake, but hey. And sounds like a big truck. No particularly horrible noises. And for a Ford, the power steering isn't groaning much. A little bit of a but that's it. They'll always grind a little bit in the Ford, but this one hardly at all. Now it's old and heavy. Let's see how it takes off. We'll floor it. And it shakes and rattles. Doesn't have all of its horses anymore. But you can see it still shifts pretty good. It's not jerking. It's not a race truck, but it can still go and still haul stuff. Well, it rides like a truck. It's a Ford F-250. It bounces over the bumps, you know, but it feels solid enough. Yeah, it bounces around. It's got old shocks on it, but it's still a reliable, dependable truck for $3,500. And being a big Ford truck, still has decent brakes. Brakes on these things are always solid. And really, it has no extremely odd noises. The bushings sound okay. Power steering pump just makes a little when you turn it every once in a while. Not in bad shape for an old truck that was only $3,500. And really, this power liftgate on the back, what a bonus. And as we look under the truck and look at the size of that rear end differential, this was a solid made truck to last a long time. And what do you see dripping under the truck? Nothing. It's not even leaking anything. It's a miracle it still has a complete exhaust system on it that's nice and quiet. As the saying goes, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Don't look this $3,500 truck in the mouth either. It's a pretty good deal for $3,500. Aside from this ding in the back, the rest of the truck is solid and great shape. Still looks decent. Look at those massive tow hooks on the front. And even this massive dent on the front bumper has something to say. What does it say? It says, I can dish it out and I can take it and still go down the road. Solid. This isn't some cheap, crumply plastic piece of junk. It's solid metal, and it may be dented, but it's still there. Which pretty much sums up this whole truck. Solid. And it's still there. Yeah, it isn't brand new. It isn't perfect. But hey, for $3,500, it is one sweet work truck. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Jack Words 244 says, I got 2008 Dodge Dakota. Is it safe to drive a vehicle that has a PO 430 check engine code? Okay, as long as your check engine light isn't flashing on off while you're driving, yeah, generally that just means the catalytic converter is somewhat weak. I had a customer, it's a funny story. He had that code and he had it for 5 years. He'd have it reset before the inspection and he could get the car passed because it wasn't too bad. It took a while for it to come back, months, but it would eventually come back. Well, he drove the car 5 years away with the code on. I always said P430. Then after 5 years, he brought it to me to check it out before he got the emissions test done. I plugged it in, the code was gone. I said, oh, did you put a catalytic converter in your car? He said, no, I switched the gas I was buying from a different company. And I guess just the difference in how that gasoline burnt versus the other one he was using, it burned better, and then the catalytic converter wasn't inefficient anymore, and the code went off. So generally, it's not really gonna hurt anything. If it's not flashing and it runs perfectly fine, that guy drove it 5 years, and then it went out by itself when he switched gas brands. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.